Bad to the Bone. Today I'm reviewing Christine. This one was my brother's choice. I asked him tonight to pick out what I was going to be reviewing, and this is what he picked. And I had a feeling he was going to pick this one too when I asked him, and I was okay with that. This was a review that I was actually kind of looking forward to doing. I was looking forward to watching this movie. My brother loves this movie. It's one of the few Stephen King books that he's actually read. Actually, I think it was the only one that he had. Well, he's read this, and he's read The Green Mile, and he's read Carrie now, because I made him read Carrie. He loves this book. He loves this movie. And I can see why. It's an interesting beast of a movie, in the sense that I very much consider it a horror movie, even though it isn't scary. It has a lot of tension in it. It has a lot of, I don't really want to say psychological thrills, because it's not really that, but there is a lot of psychosomatic symptoms going on with the characters, and it makes for an interesting thought process when watching the movie. If you don't know, and I mean, how could you not? This movie is 33 years old. You know, this is a classic. This is a movie about basically a possessed car, specifically a Plymouth Fury, 1957. Movie takes place in like the late 70s. I think it's supposed to take place around 78, 77, 78, 79, somewhere around there. And I know that I say that specifically because one of the characters, the character who ends up getting the car, Arnie, when he's first looking at it, he says this car is 20 years old. It's a classic. Or he says antique, but whatever. So I know it takes place around that time. And I don't know. This movie is about the relationship between a nerdy boy and the car that he buys. He buys this car, and there's already a dark history with the car. We know this from the opening scene and from the things that were said by the guy who sells him the car. Who, by the way, is the shovel guy from Home Alone. Oh my gosh, that's something that I have to mention about this movie real quick. This movie is chock full of people that when you see them in it, you're like, I know that guy. I don't know what he's from, but I know that person. I literally paused this movie about 20 minutes in and spent probably 10 minutes on IMDb looking up almost everybody that was in this movie, because everybody that I had seen so far was like, I know that guy from somewhere, or I know her from somewhere. Kelly Preston is in this movie. You know, Bob Ostrander. Just all these people that I was like, oh, I know them. I know them from somewhere. It was crazy. That was actually a lot of fun. I mean, how one of the main people in the movie is the guy who plays Cougar in Top Gun. That was awesome. But anyway, yeah. Nerdy kid buys a car, finds it, pays like $250 for it, spends months fixing it up. And there's already a dark history with the car, like I said. And, you know, obviously the car starts to go crazy. It starts to do some bad things. It starts to kill people. And the actions of the car change the actions of the guy who owns it, Arnie. You know, even as soon as he buys the car, he's already showing more attitude. And, you know, this guy is portrayed as an absolute nerdy, shy type of guy who doesn't do anything, who doesn't ever want to cause any trouble. He's always getting beat up. He's bullied. but as soon as he buys the car, he's already talking back to his parents, and it's interesting to see the transition of the character along with the transition of the character of the car, because the car in itself is really the main character in this movie. Sorry. But it's interesting to see that transition as it's going, as the movie is going along. You see him start to become a little bit more of a punk and an attitude, and all these bad things start happening. And this is a movie about the relationship between those two characters, between Christine, the car, and Arnie. And it is, and I say the relationship, I'm not just talking about the character relationship, I mean the relationship. Arnie is in love with his car, and this car is in a lot of ways in love with Arnie as the owner. Christine doesn't want anybody coming between them, and that's the main push of the movie, is that nobody comes between Christine and whoever owns her at the time, in the sense that Christine kills people that come between them or that hurt them. You know, Christine kills people, that kills the bullies, that hurts Arnie. Christine goes after his friends, his girlfriend, anybody that is coming between them. The only person that Christine didn't go after was his parents, which I'm kind of surprised that didn't make it into the plot somehow. And again, Arnie is in the same type of bid. Arnie practically breaks up with his girlfriend because she talks bad about the car. He stops hanging out with his best friend because he's more invested in fixing the car up and dealing with that. And then he eventually gets to a point where I think he kind of half realizes what's going on, but he doesn't care. He doesn't make a big plot to stop it. The car is possessed in some way. They almost play it off as a demonic possession type thing. Now, I don't know what the real story is about the car because I've never read the book. Hey, Michael! Come here for a sec. It's okay. In the book, was Christine like demonically possessed?
I don't think it ever explained it. I don't think it ever said.
It never came right out and said?
I don't remember it ever saying.
Oh, okay. I was just curious. Because they never gave any indication in the movie. I was wondering if they had in the book what the actual...
Not that I can remember now.
Okay. Well, there you go, guys. Speaking words from the master. But it's interesting to see the correlation between the possession of the car or whatever was wrong with it, because it obviously had some sort of almost a living soul in it. But the car in turn begins to possess Arnie. In that he becomes more confident, he changes his style, he loses his glasses, he's able to get the girl. He becomes kind of a badass in his own right. And it was an interesting correlation and an interesting way to build a relationship and to build those two characters. Because those are the main characters that we're dealing with, like I said. You know, his best friend is a big part of it, Dennis. But his character arc is more him going from kind of the big guy on campus that he was in the beginning to almost a nothing character, you know. And it was interesting, again, that correlation between Arnie's popularity beginning, or not really popularity, I guess you could say, because he doesn't really become popular, even though he gets the new girl in school as his girlfriend and things like that. It's not really his rise of popularity, but more as Arnie's character arc starts to rise, Dennis's begins to lower. And it was a nice little flip flop that they did. You know, Dennis ends up getting hurt during a football game, like almost crippled. You know, he literally almost becomes paralyzed, and so he kind of gets relegated into a nothing character. You know, he's not at school as much because he's hurt. He's in the hospital, things like that. And the reason why he gets that injury is because he's watching Arnie at his car making out with his girlfriend, who's the new girl on campus who everybody has a crush on, including Dennis. That Arnie was able to get her, and that throws him off his game, and he ends up getting hurt. So I don't know. It's kind of neat to see that as Arnie's character arc starts to get bigger and starts to rise, everybody else's kind of falls to the wayside. You know, and that's a brilliant directing choice to focus so solely on his character and his character developments. You know, it's Arnie and Christine, everybody else goes to the wayside. And I think that was an interesting choice, and it was a brilliant choice. And I mean, of course it would be, because John Carpenter directed this movie, and John Carpenter is a genius. You know, he is a master of what he does. The ending was interesting. It was almost a final battle scene, and I thought that it was really intriguing, especially in the sense that throughout the movie, all of the people that the car kills were done by the car alone. In the sense that nobody was driving it, it was driving itself. And you pretty much know that. And there's a scene that explains that Arnie was not there when it killed these certain people. So this car was doing it by itself. But the last final little scene, final fight, battle scene, where Dennis and Arnie's girlfriend Lee lure it into the auto shop to try to destroy it, Arnie drives it himself. And it's like he's fully gone over, he's been fully taken over by this car. His soul has been taken over by this car, and he's ready to do anything to get rid of it. And, you know, I'm sure that there's some sort of weird metaphor that Stephen King was going for with this. And I know that a big part of it is that it was almost a sexual relationship between Arnie and Christine that didn't involve sex. There was a lot. There was a lot of things there that could be construed very differently, and I don't know what kind of metaphor. I don't know if Stephen King was going for any kind of metaphor, because he does have a tendency to throw a lot of subtle stuff in his stories. And again, I've never read the book, so I don't know some of the more details about a lot of this. I'm sure if I read the book, I could kind of figure that out. But this is definitely a story that you want to see something deeper in it, but you don't quite know what it is. I don't know. I liked it a lot. I thought it was very unique. It was a very different approach to a lot of things, to just the way the movie, between the character development, the acting, the way the movie was shot. There was a lot of really interesting things there, and it was a very, very good movie. I highly recommend it, and I will probably watch it again. This is one of those movies I can see myself just kind of popping in and playing in the background as I do something else, but still get a lot of enjoyment out of it. So that's it for this time. Check it out. Christine's great. And I can definitely understand why my brother wants one of these cars now. It is definitely iconic. See you next time, and enjoy.